The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, welcome everybody. Mike Hamilton here. We are starting another one of the MadCap Software webinars. However, I see we still have a bunch of people logging in. That's actually pretty normal. A lot of people are just getting out of one meeting, running back to their office, trying to get logged in real quick. So let's go ahead and call this the 2-minute warning. That way everybody has a chance to get logged in, settled down. We will officially start at 2 minutes after the hour. In the meantime, go ahead and check that last email, top up your beverage, relax. We will be back on in just about 90 seconds to kick things off. All right, for those just joining, welcome. I see we still have quite a few people logging in, but by my clock, it is just about 2 minutes after the hour. And so for the sake of time, I think we are going to have to go ahead and jump in and start. And those who are still logging in are just going to have to catch up with us. So welcome, everybody. We have a pretty exciting one today. Hannah Rahman is here with us to talk about a brand new implementation using MadCap Flare, and that is for the new electric, well, I want to say automaker, but I guess technically it's a truck and SUV maker, vehicle maker, Rivian. And so that's pretty exciting. So what Hannah's going to be sharing with us is some of the trials, the tribulations, the implementation, and the process they went through. However, before we get started, I do have a couple of announcements. For some of you, this might be your first time using the GoToWebinar software, and there are lots of questions we always get right away. The first one is, will this be recorded? Absolutely. All of our webinars are recorded. It will take us about 24 hours to process the recording, get it posted, but everybody who attended, or even everybody who signed up, should be receiving an email with a link to the recording probably tomorrow. So yes, this will be recorded. And people often wonder, hey, is this secure? Is this private? Absolutely. Your microphone is on mute. Nobody can hear what is happening in your office. However, if you do have questions, well, if you look through the GoToMeeting interface, there is a little question panel where you can type in questions during the presentation if you would like. All right, so with those two announcements out of the way, I am going to turn the microphone back over to our guest presenter. Go ahead and take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, Mike. I'm really excited to be here today and share about how Rivian is using MadCap AMS. Let me start with a little bit about myself before jumping in. This is actually not my first presentation. I did one a while back on Zendesk, so hopefully you got a chance to check that out. That was before I was at Rivian. I was a consultant before I joined Rivian, and I specialized in technical writing, CSS, and project template design, and content architecture design and strategy. I initially joined Rivian as a consultant back in July of 2020 to help them get started with their Flare implementation. And then in April 2021, they realized they needed some full-time help in the flare arena. And so I joined as a full-time employee, and it's been an adventure ever since. In my current role, I use MadCap Flare to create a number of templates to publish several print and in-vehicle and online guides. While collaborating with others at Rivian, we've established our team's technical publication localization strategy using MadCap lingo and other tools. So I'm from the Bay Area and I've lived here most of my life. So it's really cool to be part of something new in the automotive industry. So I'm excited to get started. So let's start with the agenda. I'm going to start by sharing a little bit about Rivian and what it is we do. You may not all know what Rivian does. Then I will discuss why Rivian chose MadCap Authoring Management System, how we developed our content strategy and content reuse plan. I'll also touch on MadCap Central and how we're using it, and then discuss what factors we considered while developing our localization strategy. Finally, I will discuss the output formats we're currently publishing and our publishing strategy. So let's start with a little bit about Rivian. So whether it's taking families on new adventures or helping fleets electrify at scale, our vehicles all share a common goal: preserving the natural world for generations to come. Rivian is building the world's first electric adventure vehicles, the R1T and the R1T truck and the R1S sport utility vehicle. And on the commercial side, we have the fleet, which includes the Rivian commercial van and Rivian Fleet OS management software. And then we have the adventure network, which consists of DC fast chargers, Rivian waypoints, a Rivian wall charger, as well as the portable charger. And then we have adventure gear. That includes Rivian crossbars, Tech Kitchen, and many others. So Rivian has had a unique challenge of starting their documentation from scratch. While many of us have imagined starting from scratch to be a dream where we inherit legacy content, trust me when I say it has been much harder than you would expect. We had to zoom out and put together a strategy to accommodate current and future products and maximize content reuse. We were able to use the global project concept as well as features such as conditions, variables, and much more to publish to various outputs such as infotainment, web, tablet, mobile, and a variety of print sizes. And I'll share about our decision-making process and what we found successful and where we had to pivot and make different choices. Now that you have a little background, let me show you some images of the R1T and R1S in case you haven't seen them yet. So on the top left, we have a Rivian R1T in the wild. On the right, we have a Rivian R1S. And then on the bottom left, we have an Amazon electric delivery vehicle. And on the bottom right, we have an R1T and an R1S back to back. So you can see they're pretty similar, but very different at the same time. So as a new automotive company, Rivian has had an opportunity to build modern product documentation from the ground up. We didn't have any legacy content to have to worry about. When selecting a solution for creating and publishing this content, we had several requirements. Customer user experience is very important to us, and choosing a tool that provided flexibility and reuse for the team of writers was also very important. We knew we had to select an authoring system that could be implemented quickly. Another critical requirement was the ability to publish output through a variety of formats. In particular, we wanted our customers to be able to read the owner's guide that blended in with the vehicle's infotainment system in the center display. Given our vehicles are designed for off-road use, we knew that our customers were not always going to have connectivity. So we needed to provide content that was searchable, even when the vehicle was out of range from any sort of internet network. After considering a few other authoring systems, we decided MadCap AMS met most of our requirements and simplified the implementation process. We also determined that the HTML5 output could be used to create an excellent in-vehicle guide, which was one of the biggest requirements we had. So why did MadCap authoring management system fit our needs? So the team selected AMS before I started. My manager had the task of researching and selecting the best tool to support our team's needs. He knew the team would require a tool that would provide a comprehensive, highly customizable platform, which AMS is. He also knew the team would need to provide various customized HTML5 output types. Strong content reuse and support was also important, which was another plus for AMS. AMS provides integrated source control, which simplified the solution, which was another advantage. And the ability to support single source authoring and publishing was another important function the team knew they wanted that AMS provided. Long-term, the ability to translate our guides would also be a requirement, and the integration with Lingo seemed like it could support this requirement. Since AMS supported all of these needs, our team chose AMS. When you're starting from scratch, you don't have the luxury of learning from your mistakes. So you really have to take the time to think about what your long-term goals are. And one of the first things that the Tech Hub team at Rivian worked on was a style guide. The style guide included references to a specific directory, resources to follow for grammar and style, and other tools to ensure all the writers were using the same resources. Other items we included were the voice and tone. We wanted to write in with examples of what we use and what to avoid. The style guide also included things like fonts and punctuation, grammar, colors, alerts, images, and anything else we could think of. You get the idea. The team tried to be as thorough as possible, and this has continued to grow and evolve over time, but the foundation is still the same. After getting an initial understanding of the products that we would need to document and the output types we would have to support, it became clear that the best way to ensure consistency across products and projects was to use a global project. For those of you who don't know, a global project is a shared project that contains style sheets, page layouts, template pages, shared variable sets, snippets, or anything else that you would like to share among all your projects. And based on the style guide, I created our initial set of style sheets, page layouts, CSS variables, and other items that could be imported into each child project. We use MadCap Central as our source control, which allows us to share these templates and other content easily. And we knew collaboration was going to be the key from the beginning. Many of our writers work on both consumer and commercial vehicles, so that helps with visibility to ensure consistency between features where appropriate. We use other tools such as Slack and Jira and Confluence to help document what we're doing and to help with collaboration and consistency. Rivian electric vehicles support over-the-air updates, which meant we also needed to make sure we could frequently update topics and release new versions. The flexibility to publish whenever we wanted was very important to us. Our team makes extensive use of MadCap Player's topic-based authoring conditions and variables to maximize content reuse, since many of the features in the R1T truck and R1 SUV are the same or similar. Additionally, the team uses a global project in Flare, which holds all of these shared templates, page layouts, style sheets, snippets, and all other content that we want to reuse. This helps with our consistency across all our documentation. For example, we use shared topics and snippets for our copyright and customer service content. Our copyright statement is broken into snippets and then added to a copyright topic. A copyright topic and snippets are in our global project and are imported and used in every child project. This ensures the copyright and customer service content is the same wherever they appear. Using the global project in Flare, we can make sure that we collaborate and maintain consistency with the same look and feel across all the content that we're producing. One example of how we use conditions is to select between our vehicle types. This enables us to separate out the content that is different, but reuse all the content that is the same. And we're using CSS variables to switch between day and night mode in the in-vehicle owner's guide, which is pretty cool. We have page layouts for every print size of the guide we produce. Those are also shared via the global project to each child project. And then we have variables that are set at the target level for each guide. You can use CSS variables for colors, font sizes, font names, and anything else that you want to standardize. Those are really powerful, and we're using a lot of them. Output format. Rivian now produces more than 40 documents using MadCap AMS. In addition to the digital in-vehicles owner's guides for each electric model, this includes documentation covering Rivian's chargers, accessory products, and enterprise software systems. These are delivered as HTML5-based online content, digital PDFs that can be downloaded at rivian.com, and printed guides that are included with Rivian vehicles, charging products, and accessories. The designs of our documentation are very specific to the needs of our users. For example, the in-vehicle guide has an infotainment touchscreen with relatively large buttons and a scrollable table of contents, while we use a more conventional online help system for our enterprise software systems. The design capabilities in Flare are flexible enough that we can produce optimized content for both touchscreen and computer use, depending on the document that we're creating. Source control and MadCap Central. So we're using MadCap Central as our source control repository for all our documentation, for all the documentation our team creates. We were excited when MadCap recently released branching support, since that supports our agile development process and OTA update needs. Our team is always looking for ways to help our customers find the information they need faster. To understand how successfully our users are navigating the interactive in-vehicle guide, we use the analytics capabilities of MadCap Central. For example, Rivian refers to the storage compartment in the front of the passenger as the front trunk, but MadCap Central identified the fact that some customers search using a popular term with electric vehicle owners called frunk. With that insight, the documentation team was able to create a synonym in MadCap Flare. So if someone searches for frunk, the guide shows topics that use the term front, trunk, enabling the user to find the correct topic. MadCap Central's analytic feature also helps us create new content and fine-tune our search over time to improve its performance. In addition to using MadCap Central for analytics and source control, we have used MadCap Central for testing and publishing content. By publishing HTML5-based content to MadCap Central, the team can review and preview what the documentation will look like online and ensure that changes have been captured correctly, essentially providing a means of quality assurance before putting content into a software build. Using Central to preview documentation has been particularly useful for content like the owner's guide embedded in the infotainment system. It helps us create the customer experience and make sure everything is correct before it gets published to the vehicle. In addition, testing lets us catch things quickly and fix them before the development team does the work of integrating the guide into the software. Once testing has been completed, the documentation team publishes the HTML5-based guide to a bucket on Amazon Simple Storage Service, also known as Amazon S3. from which the software development team can easily pull the guide. The ability to save credentials for an Amazon S3 bucket and hit publish each time we're ready to hand off content provides a level of automation that significantly speeds up our publishing process. For production-ready guides, we publish directly to an internal website we have for internal teams to have early access to the vehicle guides. We also publish FleetOS Help Center to S3 servers that host the content to be displayed in the Rivian FleetOS Advanced Fleet Management software. In addition, we publish our vehicle guides to Amazon S3 servers so our software development team can take the documentation and integrate it into software builds to be released as part of over-the-air updates. And then we publish our PDFs to SharePoint for internal reviews and archival purpose. And the released versions of the guides are hosted online at Rivian.com. MadCap Software makes publishing to each of these locations seamless by allowing you to create destinations and then mapping your targets to publish to those destinations. The fact that we can use Flare to produce our own content and that we can own that process from start to finish gives us a lot of flexibility and substantially increases our speed to deliver content. We continue to explore new ways we can use Flare to increase our efficiency and enhance the experiences of our customers. Localization. So as you set up your style guide, best practices, and projects, you should determine if localization will be required for your documentation. If the answer is yes, you should start by determining which of the guides your team is producing will need to be localized and which formats. For example, we produce both PDF and HTML5 formats that have to be translated. In your case, you need to consider that as well. Do both the PDF and HTML5 formats have to be translated? For the most part, 90% plus content is the same between those two output types, but you will still need to get the delta translated. And that delta will depend on how different your content is between the output types. You will also need to determine which regions you need to translate for, and if there are multiple languages supported for that region. And then, of course, understanding the timeline for when the English is finalized to when you can send content for translation, to when you get translated content back, after which point you will likely need to QA for expansion and potentially go through a round of linguistic QA. So now let me show you some pictures of the Owner's Guide app in the infotainment software. The interactive in-vehicle owner's guide we've created with Flare is integral to creating a superior experience for our customers. To our customers, the guide appears to be one more application in the infotainment center, along with other apps such as music, phone, navigation. By pressing the icon to get to the menu of topics and the search bar, customers can quickly get to the vehicle information they need. In addition, because the guide is HTML5 that resides locally, the drivers can access the guide even when they're off-road and don't have internet access. Our initial proof of concept design and running HTML5 output in our vehicle was successful. The open standard-based architecture of Flare was an important part of the success. We spent most of our time fine-tuning the design of our vehicle guide to integrate it within the overall system. Here, you're looking at the R1T Owner's Guide home screen. You can see that there are quick links on the right and the search and navigation on the left. And this view is in day mode, which is controlled by the overall vehicle setting. Here, you're looking at the same screen as the previous slide, but in night mode. And as you can see, the content remains the same, but the style sheet changes the colors and the images to display the correct day or night colors and images based on the mode selected in the vehicle. Here we have the parts diagram topic of the portable charger section. This content is also in the portable charger guide and the digital PDF owner's guides for the R1T and R1S. And here's the part diagram topic of the portable charger section in night mode. So again, you see the content is identical. Now here's the Rivian camp speaker topic in day mode. Note the call out numbers on the image. So here is, if we had scrolled down when you were in the vehicle, you see the call out table that describes what each number reference on the image refers to. And this design helps us to minimize having to translate images. In this particular example, in this example, only the table with the descriptions have to be translated rather than the image as well. So this is a good best practice when you know you have to localize, because by doing this, we can use the same images regardless of the language that we need to translate for. Here we have another topic called Drive with the Key Card in day mode. Okay, now we're going to switch to R1S. You'll see a similar homepage with quick links on the right and search and navigation on the left. And here's the R1S Owner's Guide main page in night mode. So again, if you recall, it's very similar to the R1T. So you may notice that the parts diagram topic here in the R1S Owner's Guide is the same as what you saw in the R1T Owner's Guide a few slides before. This is an example of where the content is being reused because it is identical. And here's the parts diagram topic night mode for R1S, which again is the same as R1T. And same thing here, you may notice that the camp speaker topic is the same in the R1S Owner's Guide as it was in the R1T Owner's Guide. So this is another example of where content is being reused because it is identical. And this is the corresponding call-out table for the Rivian camp speaker for R1S. So this is the drive with the key card topic here in the R1S Owner's Guide, which is the same as in R1T Owner's Guide. So yet another example of where content is being reused because it's identical. So as you can see, the ability to reuse content really helps us to produce content faster because we have that ability to reuse a majority of the content where it's the same between both guides. Now, let's take a look at some PDF examples. The digital PDFs are published to Rivian.com for each OTA to correspond with the over-the-air update into the vehicle. The portable charger guide is a printed guide that comes with the charger, and almost all of these guides have content that is in the in-vehicle guide. Almost all of the content in these guides is in the in-vehicle guides. So shared content between both outputs. And that's kind of why I showed you a bunch of different topics in the in-vehicle. We're going to go back and reference those. So here, we're looking at the R1T Owner's Guide in the 8.5 by 11 digital PDF. And you see here the parts diagram of the portable charger section. And this content is the same as the in-vehicle version of the guide, as well as in the portable charger guide. So now this is how you would see this in the portable charger guide. The only difference is that the image is broken up and the layout has been changed to better fit this size guide. So here we see this is the 8.5 by 5.5 in a printed booklet. And then this is the same content in an 8.5 by 11 digital PDF. And then if we scroll up a little bit, sorry, it's a little slow. Oh, that was it. So this is the same content here. So it gives us a huge advantage to be able to reuse this content and produce different output types and sizes and guides. Let me get back to where we were. All right, so we were here. So now here we have the drive with the key card topic previously shown. As you can see, this content is the same. Scrolling seems to be slow, so I won't switch back, but essentially it's the same concept. This is what it looks like in an 8.5 by 11 format versus the in-vehicle format. And so the content is identical. We have different style sheets that control what the output looks like. So here's another example. This is the camp speaker in the digital PDF of the R1T owner's guide, which was shown previously. And we also produce documentation for the FleetOS enterprise software. I wasn't able to get an approved image to share that shows the help center, but that is another output that we're currently publishing to. So that's all I had to share for today about Rivian's implementation using MadCap Flare and Lego and AMS. Let me pass it back to Mike.
All right, thanks. There are several questions that have come in, so we'll do a couple of quick marketing announcements here, and then we'll jump back into those questions. Just by attending the webinar, they've put together some discounts for people. All you have to do is mention these when you talk to your salesperson. But everybody is entitled to the one-day web-based training. If you're interested, even if you're in the trial mode right now, you can still get into that free one-day introductory training. And then I think there's one more slide here. And there's a new customer referral program. So if you've been using Flare for a while and it turns out, hey, your friend or your colleague at another company could benefit from that. That's been happening for over a decade with our customers. So we finally initiate a program where you can actually benefit from sharing that data. So for more details, you can always reach out to the sales team. But if you are, sharing, hey, Flare could solve a problem over here, then reach out to the sales team. Hey, make sure that you get a benefit out of that. All right, I think that was it for the marketing slides. Can you see the question and answer panel, or would it be easier for you if I read the questions that were submitted to you?
Let me see. I'm not sure if I'm looking at this correctly. I just see the one.
That's
question.
okay. I can read them to you if that's easier.
Okay.
Now, again, I want to be sensitive. Not everybody wants to share this kind of information, but several people have asked about the size of the tech doc team at Rivian.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share that or how
no
that
worries.
works. And so
No
I
worries.
can definitely, if that's okay to share, we can share it after. I'm just not sure.
No, and that I should remind people, when we send out the email with the recording, we're going to send out a PDF document that has all of these answered questions as well. So that is a viable answer. If you can check, we can always include that in the PDF later. Another question came in, and again, feel free to defer any of these if you want to. But the question was, did the Rivian doc team do everything themselves, or did you hire any external consultants to get over your initial hump?
So yes, we did get some consultant help in a lot of the work. As I mentioned, I started out as a consultant to help us get started, and then we've in the course of a pretty short time delivered a lot of different output types and content, and so we did install some help. Yeah.
Okay. Another question, were you able to just define your own requirements, or did you had to adhere to some kind of automotive industry specification or government requirement?
So let me try to answer this. I'm not sure if this is what the question is referring to, but we do have to adhere to regulatory requirements. So like any other company that is doing automotive, there's homologation requirements, regulatory requirements. So we are following and meeting all of those requirements.
Okay. Now, I think I have an answer for this one, but the question came in, they love the fact that there was night mode versus day mode on the infotainment panel in the vehicle. How are you doing that? Is that two separate targets?
No, it's one target, and we are using CSS variables to do that. And I believe there is or I think they call it dark and light mode. And there's functionality that you can look up that will allow you to change the mode based on what someone sets, I think, on their computer settings.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's functions to do that. And I think there's some information about that coming soon. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but
All right. And again, I know if I needed to do that, I would probably explore using a media query to check the system clock. And then just based on the time of the system, have it substitute a different style sheet medium. I don't know if you guys did it that way, but being the closet kind of CSS person here, that's probably how I would approach it. That just seems so much easier than trying to do multiple targets.
Yeah, we're not doing multiple targets. I will say in our situation for the vehicle, it's a little bit different than if you were implementing something like this for a web-based application. For us, in vehicle, the whatever the setting is in the vehicle would control the day or night mode, because obviously there's safety.
Good point. Because I can see if you were like driving through a tunnel, you might want it to shift to night mode, even if it was midday. So I could see almost needing an input from like the headlight circuit. If the headlights are on, switch to night mode. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. All right.
Yeah.
So
it's a safety thing. You don't want to glare at someone, have a glaring white screen when someone's driving at night. So
excellent. All right. Another question. They noticed that in specifically the artwork for the charger, they were asking, were those numbered callouts part of the image, or did the authoring team add those using MadCap Capture?
Great question. So we actually are really fortunate. We have an amazing team of illustrators who do all the graphics for us. I know that's not always the case. That hasn't been in most places that I've been. But we do have illustrators, and they actually create all the call outs as part of the images. So we're not using Capture at this time.
Okay, and that actually covers a couple of several people were asking about, does your artwork just come directly from an art department? And I was assuming it was, just based on my experiences with the auto industry, several of the auto manufacturers. Excellent answer. Now, somebody is asking, I think they're a bit of a doubter here. the content you showed on that infotainment system in vehicle, is that content directly out of MadCap Flare, or was any post-processing done on those HTML5 files?
I think I can see the questions now. There was not post-processing done on the files. However, we don't publish update only because the content is specific to each over-the-air update. It's a brand new set of files every time.
Okay. More questions about illustrations. We already covered that.
It looks like some more questions. I'm starting to see. I think I figured out. I have to look at these. So I do see a question about global project. What is contained in the global project, and how do the Flare sub-projects link to the global project? So in general, your global project contains, at least how I've always implemented it, is that it contains all of your shared content. So in our case, that's our style sheets, any topics, like I mentioned, copyright, things like that are shared, as well as, master pages, tables, style sheets, any of those shared type content. And then you can use an import file in what I refer to as your child, or you're saying sub-Flare projects. And then you can use that import file to import that content from the global project. I'm pretty sure there must be some sort of information on the MadCap help about creating global projects, or some webinars that talk about this as well in more detail.
I think the only thing confusing about our documentation is we did change it all about 18 months ago. We used to use the traditional computer language. There was, I'll use some bad terms here, a master project and a slave project. That's all been rewritten. We now refer to it as like the corporate project and the production project. But it's still the same process. It is well documented, but some of the terminology we changed. I think that may have confused some people.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you, for anyone interested in learning more about Global Project, if you just search for Global Project, there's a lot of really useful information out there that will help you get started. And then the import file is the key to importing content from a shared project. Let's see.
There's an interesting question about dark mode. They understand how the style sheet could render the textual content differently, but what about images? Do you have to keep a duplicate set of dark mode images?
Yes, we have two sets of images for dark and so day and night mode, or dark and light mode. We do have two sets of images for those.
Ooh, good question and good answer.
I see someone asked about if they can get a PDF of a Rivian document. You can go to Rivian.com, and under support documents, all of our published PDFs are available there for download. I see another question about UI. If we have a UI design team that determines the look and feel for our content, or do design choices come from our team? So yes, we do have a design team that has given us design direction on what the design should look like. And then myself, as well as the production team, is responsible for implementing those designs, and then working with the writers so they know how to use the different classes that we're creating to support the design. Okay. Do users get master project via Central? So the global project, we are using MadCap Central, and all of our content is in Central, and so that is how all the writers download the global project, is through Central. And then I found in order to be successful, you need all the writers or the entire team has to have the same file structure. And so, you want to have a root folder where you put all your projects, and then your global project should be at the same level as your other content projects, and that way the mapping stays correct. So search feature. So does the search feature on the infotainment screen allow for a voice search? Not at this time, but who knows? Okay, my answer regarding dark mode, it looks like that was another question, that my audio is muffled. I'm not sure which part of it you didn't hear, but essentially we're using CSS variables to control what we're calling day and night mode, and that there's a function that we basically call in the vehicle to determine which mode we need to display. Does the search bar the driver from searching or using the documentation when driving? No, not at this time. So you can, it allows, the assumption is that a passenger would be doing that, but we are not disabling the owner's guide while driving at this time. A lot of questions here. How does the user swap to another language on the infotainment screen? That is part of the vehicle UI. So like any other vehicle, automotive, any other car, you basically can go to a different screen, like a setting screen within the vehicle to switch languages. I'm trying to figure out which one of these to pick from. I think we answered a few of these already. So if an error is found, how long does it take you to fix the live version? So the owner's guides are delivered as part of an implement over-the-air update, and at this time, our frequency is about once a month. And so if there is something that is deemed necessary to release sooner, I believe that is a possibility. However, our current cadence is monthly, and so we are publishing new content every month and finding fixes, adding new features, updating content, doing any fixes that need to be done in that each monthly cycle. So someone asked, I mentioned file tags. So yes, we're using file tags to pretty minimally right now. Right now it's more to tag which author owns content. So we have author file tags. And then that way, as we're implementing things, or if I find any issues, I know who to talk to, or if I need someone to change something or implementation, I know who the writer is who owns the topic. let's say, what were the biggest two problems starting from the doc from scratch? So if I look back on what we've accomplished in the last couple of years, since I've been working with Rivian, is you don't know what you don't know, right? So I think you have to make some assumptions, and write down everything you do know, put together your guidelines and research from best practices and all of the collective experience in your team. And then you have to put some stakes in the ground, so to speak, and say, okay, we're going to start here, full well knowing that this is probably not the perfect solution, but knowing that we're going to evolve and get better, and just knowing when to pivot, right? Not being stuck with any particular idea, because you may well need to shift and pivot and make different choices, and it may require some rework. You may have some throwaway, and just being mindful as you make those choices, that not overly investing in something, because it could potentially not be the long-term solution, because we're learning a lot, we're growing, we have a lot of different output types, and it's fast, it's an agile environment. So just doing the best you can, and knowing that you may have to shift. There's another question here regarding, is the documentation customer specific? If so, if the car has a personal touch, is that also visible? So not at this time. Our hopes are eventually to be able to do some personalization, but today it's pretty much the owner's guide is specific to the vehicle software and not specific to any configuration. How do you QA preview your content.car screen? Do you use preset browser sizing in car? So we do have what we refer to as bench testing. So we have access, especially early on, we didn't have as much access to test in vehicle. And so we have the infotainment screen in the lab that we can test on. However, now that we're shipping more vehicles and there's more access, we do have the ability to test in the vehicles themselves. But generally speaking, we test on the bench in the lab. Okay. Does the over-the-air mean wireless transmission? So yeah, so it's kind of like your iPhone, where an update is available, and then you can select if you would like to update, and you have to be connected to Wi-Fi in order for that to download. And so it's a similar model. Are the pictures used in MadCap Software sizable to other screen sizes that you can use the documentation and screen in a split screen mode? So we're not putting split screen at this time. However, it does, we are testing the HTML5 is responsive. And as I had mentioned, I wasn't able to show a picture, but our FleetOS software, the help center for that, is web-based, and that one is responsive, fully responsive for mobile and web. And so the images do scale so that they look perfect in a mobile phone versus a tablet and the like.
All right, I think we have covered all of the questions submitted so far. And looking at the clock, boy, we hit it right on the money. We only have about 5 minutes left in our assigned hour. Any last follow-up comments before we officially wrap up this webinar? I was throwing the microphone to you, Hannah.
Oh, sorry. I was like reading the questions.
Any
No,
last thoughts you want to leave the audience with?
no, I just urge you to check out the vehicles. They're really cool. You can check out the website and learn more about our vehicles and our software and tools, and you can see our documentation. I've never worked at a company where documentation was broken apart and had YouTube videos about that, but that actually exists as well. So it's pretty cool. It's been a great experience and adventure, and I'm excited to share about this. And I appreciate all of you for taking time out of your busy day to come listen to me share. And I hope that you benefited and learned something new. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Hannah. That was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your day to attend. I absolutely hope you found this helpful. With that, I think we're going to wrap this webinar up. Again, watch your email. Probably tomorrow-ish, you'll receive an email with a link to the recording and a link to the full question and answer with a text version of the answers that we did orally here. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of today and an even better rest of your week. Cheers.